The Legendary Hero Remix banner for July 2021 is out right now. With update 5.7, we got some changes for Legendary Lyn and Legendary Female Grima. We'll talk about them a bit today. We also have 6 other units on this banner, and you can spark on these banners, so if you really want someone or a certain skill, then this may be for you. We'll talk about all the other fun skills available for foddering as well. Not currently implemented in the game, but coming next month in update 5.8 is another change for Fjorm. With her refined for Later, Fjorm's new skill from the remix buff, Attack and Defense Unity, actually doesn't really synergize well with it. Because of this interaction, the devs have decided to give Fjorm a new skill, which will be Mirror Stance 3. She will keep both new skills, so you can decide what to use, and this will make Fjorm incredible fodder. It just so happens she's on this banner, so if you do get her and you want Mirror Stance 3, you just have to wait till next month. For our first remix buff, we have Legendary Lyn, who is widely considered possibly one of the worst legendaries since her arrival. Her base kit tried to do both player phase and enemy phase tactics, but it just made both underwhelming. Along with Legendary Real Mud, Lyn could really use some buffs. Her Laws of Sacae A skill is getting upgraded to Laws of Sacae 2. It basically got completely redone. Now, if Lyn initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +6 to all stats, and also if the foe is a melee unit and Lyn has 5 more speed than them, they cannot counterattack. So, Laws of Sacae is still trying to give Lyn some mixed phase power. She gains a much needed +6 to all stats, and when initiating against melee foes, Lyn gains a fire sweep effect if she has enough speed to double basically. This is nice, but the 5 speed comparison check kinda sucks if you're trying to compete with speedier modern units. It also doesn't work against ranged units, so Lyn needs those stats to stay alive still. To me, this condition is more aimed at slower distant counter army units or tanks in general, possibly a throwback to Brave Lyn's Sacae's Blessing. Also in this update, Lyn will also receive Joint Drive Speed as a new skill, which is very nice for her. Now, normally I would go over some build ideas, however, now that we know that legendary units are getting refines, I don't think it's worth discussing anything until they get those refines. Not sure when Lyn will get one for Swift Mulligear, but I would not recommend doing any skill inheriting until it comes out. Instead, with the knowledge of Laws of Sacae 2, let's do some fun theory crafting on what a Swift Mulligear refine could look like. First off, because I think the pseudo fire sweep effect is aimed at slower units on purpose, I wouldn't be surprised to see Lyn get no follow-up. Even if she blocks their counterattack, a lot of tanks have follow-up prevention, and Lyn doesn't exactly have super high attack like Legendary Crom. Speaking of which, armor effectiveness could be nice for similar reasons, but it would be pretty random. In terms of mixed phase power, considering Lyn needs to fight against ranged foes, I could see Swift Mulligear just tacking on more stats. It basically adds +5 attack and speed right now, but if they really want to make Lyn a mixed phase archer, extra defense and res would be appreciated too. A more utility skill could be close counter. Versus melee foes, Lyn would get a fire sweep effect on the player phase and then have close counter on the enemy phase. Doesn't really help with the ranged matchups though. Now, since specials are very powerful in Fae and Lyn could use the extra damage, maybe accelerate specials could be easily tacked on. They could also pull a Young Innis and give Lyn the damage reduction nullification ability. Obviously, we won't see all of these at once, but Swift Mulligear currently only gives an attack and speed boost, so it could really use some extra abilities here. Now, in case you don't want to wait for the refine or you just want to have fun, you can use Laws of Sacae 2 with some other inheritable bows. First off, you could use the Brave Bow. I guess if you don't like blue units, it could work out. Reindeer Bow adds attack and defense, and guard if you want to stack more defensive power. Spendthrift Bow would be interesting since adding a pseudo fire sweep effect just makes it more annoying. Would you really use it on Legendary Lyn though? If you want a Swift Mulligear replacement, for the moment Sprinky Bow is actually just better in my opinion. Then we got the Pledgeon Bow with menace skills, and that could be fun, but these are some really rare weapons, so yeah, I wouldn't expect anyone to really give these out. We'll come back to Legendary Lyn another day once she gets her refine. As for other Legendary Female Grima, we have already talked about her in this month's Weapon Refine video. I'll link to that. This will just be a quick recap if you didn't see that. For her Dragonskin 2A skill, Grima is going to neutralize fire effectiveness, and if the foe initiates combat or if they are above 75% HP, Grima gets +6 to all stats and neutralizes the foe's bonuses. Very simple effects, but they work nicely with Expiration's Refine. Basically, she gets distant counter, +4 to all stats, and guard. If you want a generalist mixed phase unit, Legendary Grima is how it's done. She basically gets +10 to all stats, which is really good with her balanced stat spread. She nullifies field buffs, she has guard, and distant counter while not being weak to arrows. As a flying colorless dragon, Grima brings a lot of utility for any team comp. For her new passive skill, she's going to get Speed and Res Rain 3, which is just more stat advantages for her. All in all, Legendary Grima can basically run anything to fit with these new skills. She could run Desperation if you want a cheap B skill to have some player phase power, and any kind of solo skill works nicely. You can also go with Bonds, Form, or Stances for stat boosters. For other major skills, to play around Dragon's Ire is an option. Grima has great speed, but Dragon's Ire brings the guaranteed follow-up attack while neutralizing follow-up prevention skills. With Distant Counter, this is a great combo for ensuring doubles. Another neat B skill would be Near Trace to get access to Kanto. Dragons don't have a res variant just yet, so who knows when we're going to get one. Instead, they could use an attack and speed Near Trace if that ever becomes a thing, and you could also use it with attack and speed Rain. That would be another -7 attack and speed debuffs in total on the foe, and you got that in addition to Grima's +10 to all stats. I think that would be pretty fun. For some other skills, you could run Mystic Boost for healing. Sadly, Grima can't run the new Flow Refresh B skill, which would have been really cool, I think. If you want to stay with the team and not use super premium skills, there's always the Link B skill buffs. Those give more stats for Grima, and you could use flyer mobility skills like aerobatics to position around for Link tactics. While Rains are great for flyers, Grima could also use mana skills just because you want to. She could also run Dragon Wall. Her base resistance isn't the highest, but she gets another +10 res and speed and res rain, debuffs -4 on the foe. Very sneakily becomes quite high. Again, Legendary Grima is how you do a fun mixed phase unit. We'll have to see if Legendary Lyn tries to follow suit. Moving on, let's talk about the other units on this banner. For the red group, Legendary Ike is back. Everyone can get him for free, and he already received his remix buffs plus refine. Ragnarok Accelerate specials and Radiant Aether 2 grants -2 special cooldown on turn 1, so I can have Aether on 1 cooldown to start the fight. He doesn't really need it for certain builds, but it's still nice, and you can get around guard abilities with this. For skills, Ike has Warding Breath and has received Joint Drive Res. He still has Defense Tactic, but definitely would go with the other 2 skills first. Next we have Brave Lysithea. She's a hard-hitting, faster red infantry mage. Dark Spikes is effective against cavalry units and has a desperation effect with a guaranteed follow-up attack. This is great because Lysithea can use the guaranteed double against faster units, and she can use it to cancel out follow-up prevention skills. For her passives, Lysithea brings attack and speed push 4, low speed and res 3, and hone speed 4. Pretty much any of those are good to pick up. As a reminder, if Intelligent Systems keeps their pattern, the Choose Your Legend winners have gotten refines 2 years later. We saw what happened to Brave Hector, and we're expecting CYL 3 refines shortly after this year's CYL 5. It's not guaranteed, but getting to cut in front of the line for refines is pretty nice. Next we have the blue group for Fjorm, and she did get her Ice Mirror 2 from last remix banner. This update she got her Lapter refine, and Fjorm got some meaty stat boosts while being able to neutralize stat debuffs. Because neutralizing debuffs don't work well with attack and defense unity, Fjorm gets Mirror Stance 3. She will keep both skills however, so Fjorm's value in terms of fodder has skyrocketed even more. 2 very good A skills, and she still has the ever rare Shield Pulse 3. Joining Fjorm will be female Kris, another Lance Infantry unit. She was one of the early Lance Infantry to rock the high-speed Swordmaster type stat spread, but over the past year, that pool has expanded a ton. Kris's Spear of Shadow accelerates specials, neutralizes debuffs, and debuffs the foe's attack, speed, and defense stats. For skills, female Kris has access to some fun stuff in Fury 4, Spurn 3, and Rouse Speed and Res. Fury 4's extra recoil damage can help with certain tactics, and Rouse Speed and Res is one of the rarer versions of that skill line. As for the Spurn, it's a really popular dodge B skill because it previously was the only one that added extra in-combat effects. It adds 5 damage when special triggers. Charlotte has brought us Frenzy now, but Spurn works at any HP and it's great for special spammers like the Ragnar Astra units. Next is the green group, starting with Legendary Lyn. I'm not sure if a Swift Mulligan refine would be game breaking, but it wouldn't hurt to hold on to Lyn until then. If you really don't need her, then Joint Drive Speed is nice for lots of builds, and Lyn's does Speed Tactic. Joining Lyn will be Jill. She's a fast axe flyer, and her Talrigan axe grants more attack and speed while having a permanent desperation effect. If Jill can double, she'll attack before the foe can counter. Jill doesn't need to choose between dive bomb or desperation because she already has both. This now leaves room for the new Near Trace B skills for Kanto, and if you get a defense variant, she can stack more debuffs with her speed and defense Rain C skill. Jill's going to be able to do a lot of damage. As for other skills, Jill has attack and speed push 4 and chill attack and speed 2. Chills in the B slot are just kinda awkward since there are just so many other good skills there. Last up is our Colorless group. Legendary Grima got her Refine and Remix buffs, so it's a lot easier to decide on if you want to invest in her. Her one new skill is going to be Speed and Res Rain, but she also has Res Smoke. Grima was here on the first Remix banner, she was here last banner, and she'll be on the next one too. We're back to the good old days where Grima is going to be here a lot because there are no other Colorless legendaries. That being said, now would be a good time to summon for Grima because she's paired up with Shinon, one of the best archers in the game with possibly the most stacked set of fodder skills as well. Shinon is just an incredible unit with lots of attack and speed, his double bow grants more stats, and has built-in close counter when he's up alone. At the moment, Shinon is the only Deadeye wielder, and it's possible it stays that way just like with Blue Flame. Deadeye disables a damage reduction skill, so it's a super valuable special for archers. For his passive, Shinon then has attack and defense solo 4, low attack and speed, and times pulse. The guy is just amazing to get whether you use him or not. That's going to be it for this video. Because these remix units are older and more legendaries are going to be retired, I want to start listing their next reruns. These are always on the notifications, but I just want to include them in the video. For Ike and Fjorm, if you want more copies at all, you better do it now because they ain't coming back till May 2022, almost a whole year from now. As for Lyn, she's not going to be back till January 2022, and I assume her Refine should be out before then. Last, as mentioned, there are no other Colorless legendaries from the early days, so Grima's going to be back next Remix banner in September. Good news if you really like her, and maybe I can finally get a copy after all these years. Let me know if you're summoning on this banner, and if you are, then I wish you good luck. I'll see you in the next video.